sports in the Bronx.
Time now for Outside the Lines.
Today, Outside the Lines, the only major leaguer ever murdered during the season. A look back at the life and career of Lyman Bostock and an encounter with his killer. Also today, saying goodbye to Yankee Stadium. He was a can't-miss superstar and a rare breed of a ball player, Lyman Bostock.
I hope people don't relate to me as a high-paid ball player. I hope they relate to me as Lyman Bostock of the California Angels.
30 years ago this week, his promise ended in a flash, murdered in cold blood. And the man who pulled the trigger,
Leonard Smith, got away with murder.
also this week.
Today, I consider myself the luckiest man on the face of the earth.
On the day of its final game, an appreciation of an American sports temple. Today, Outside the Lines, farewell Yankee Stadium and the tragedy of Lyman Bostock.
Sitting in for Bob Lee, John Barr.
Imagine a major leaguer mired in a batting slump so bad that he gives his salary back out of concern he hasn't earned it. Lyman Bostock was such a player. The son of a Negro leaguer, Bostock appeared to have limitless potential when he broke onto the scene with the Minnesota Twins and later the California Angels. But 30 years ago this week, Bostock's promising career was cut short. He was gunned down in Gary, Indiana, the only major leaguer ever murdered during a season. Tom Rinaldi looks back now at the life and death of Lyman Bostock and what's become of his killer. A word of caution, some of the language that follows may be offensive.
If only the meaning of a life were as easy to measure as the place where it is laid to rest. Amid the green rows and flat fields, beneath a modest grave marker in Inglewood, California, lies Lyman Bostock. The stone unable to tell the story of a life taken too soon, and of the man who took it. From the beginning, Lyman Bostock was a ball player with a fast bat and a burning talent.
Some ball players are born to play the game. I think that it was a tradition in my family for ball players, and I'm just carrying out right now.
A fleet outfielder, he played 3 seasons with Minnesota alongside perennial batting champion Rod Carew.
He wanted to be one of the great players in the game. He wanted to lead the league in hitting more than me. I think he had a chance to do great things and be a Hall of Famer.
In 1977, Bostock hit .336, second in the American League to Carew. After earning $20,000 a season with the Twins, he signed with Gene Autry's California Angels for more than 20 times that. 5 years, $2.25 million. In 1978, it was one of the richest contracts in sports history.
I hope people don't relate to me as a high-paid ball player. I hope they relate to me as Lyman Bostock of the California Angels.
Playing under the weight of his new contract, Bostock slumped. Ending his first month hitting just .157. That April, he made a radical offer to give his salary back to his team.
I'm not that kind of person to take money, and I know I'm not doing well, especially that type of money when I'm receiving. I don't feel like I gave Mr. Autry a full month's work. If I can't perform to my capability, then I don't think I deserve the money.
Autry refused to take the money back, but Bostock still gave it away. All of his first month's salary, $40,000 to local charities.
He wanted to earn his money, and if he didn't earn it, he didn't want it.
Bostock's uncle, Tom Turner, lives in Gary, Indiana, and went to Chicago Chicago to see Bostock play late that season. He had no idea how fateful that day would be. Saturday afternoon, September 23rd, 1978. Bostock went 2 for 4 and was back hitting near 300, best among the Angels. It would be the final game of Lyman Bostock's life. After the game, Bostock went to Gary with Turner for a dinner with relatives. Around 10 that night, they drove a short way so Bostock could visit Joan Hawkins, a childhood friend, who was at home with her sister, Barbara Smith.
I sat in the car and he went in, and then when he came out, he says, Tom, Barbara and Joan want me to drop them off over to their cousin's house. Is it okay? I said, sure, I don't mind. They got in the car and we drove off.
When Lyman Bostock got in the car that night with his uncle Tom Turner, they planned to take the two women with them across town. They had no idea they were being followed. They found out when they got here, to the intersection of 5th and Jackson in Gary. It's the spot where Bostock's life intersected tragically with a man he'd never met.
I think Barbara said, Tom, your nephew's been shot. And that's when I looked around and he had slumped. And I was just, I couldn't believe it.
Lyman Bostock, star outfielder for the California Angels, one of the highest paid players in baseball, shot to death late last night in Gary, Indiana.
Amid the shock and shattered glass, Lyman Bostock's life ended in the backseat of his uncle's Buick, killed by a shotgun blast to the right temple. He was 27 years old.
He cared about things. He cared about this team, and I liked him.
There was a lot of tears. There was a lot of emotion. This young man was loved. He was deeply cared about.
Just days later, more than 800 people, including the entire Angels team, attended his funeral in California, where, among others, teammate Ken Brett tried to describe the loss.
We have been deprived of a great player, a great friend. And an unmatched spirit has left the Angel clubhouse.
Back in Gary, police quickly had a suspect.
A 31-year-old man charged in Crown Point, Indiana, with the weekend murder of baseball star Lyman Bostock.
Who was arrested?
I can't even call his name now. I just threw it out of my mind.
Leonard Smith.
Leonard Smith. I hate to hear that name called.
Police believe Smith was aiming at his estranged wife when he allegedly shot Bostock in Gary, Indiana, Saturday night.
The suspect had been in trouble with the law before. His wife Barbara had filed for divorce and received a temporary restraining order against him just 4 days before the shooting. That Saturday night at the intersection of 5th and Jackson, from his car, Smith fired into the backseat of Turner's car, where his wife was sitting. He killed the person sitting beside her, Lyman Bostock. Barbara Smith told police with certainty the killer was her husband, Leonard Smith. Just hours later, police came to this small apartment house in Gary where Smith lived and arrested him.
When he came to the police station that night, only thing he said is all about that bitch. And that was it.
He was charged with murder and held here without bond in the Lake County Jail. He faced up to 60 years in prison.
This should have been an open and shut case. That's what it should have been, and that's how we as prosecutors looked at it.
Jack Crawford prosecuted the case against Smith, but in court the defendant didn't plead innocent or guilty to the killing. Instead, his lawyer, Nick Theros, took a different approach.
It's not a defense of whodunit, as we know. Everybody knew that Leonard did it. The only